New York City's Times Square is never silent. The hum of neon signs, honking taxis, and the constant chatter of tourists create a symphony of urban life. But on this particular evening, another sound was cutting through the noise. A song, raw and heartfelt, played by a group of street musicians. A young guitarist sat cross-legged on a small stool, his fingers gliding over the strings of a worn acoustic guitar. A saxophonist swayed with the music, adding a soulful depth to the tune, while a singer, her voice carrying both power and vulnerability, sang her heart out. For them, this was routine. Night after night, they set up in the same spot, hoping their music would be enough to make people stop, listen, and maybe drop a few dollars into the open guitar case at their feet. Sometimes people hurried by, barely noticing. Other times, they would nod along before disappearing into the neon glow of the city. Tonight, though, something was different. A woman stood at the edge of the small crowd forming around them. Dressed in an oversized hoodie, a baseball cap pulled low over her face, and dark sunglasses hiding her eyes, she blended in with the sea of pedestrians. But she wasn't just another passerby. She was listening, really listening. She tilted her head, tapping her fingers against her hoodie. Then, as if unable to resist, she took a step forward. The music swelled, and the woman did something unexpected. She started humming along, softly at first, barely audible. Then her voice rose, blending seamlessly with the melody. A few heads turned. Some recognized the voice before they even saw her face. A murmur spread through the crowd, growing louder with every second. Someone whispered, "No way. Is that?" The woman pulled down her hood and removed her sunglasses. Gasps rippled through the gathering audience. Lady Gaga. For a few seconds, the musicians froze. Then, as if shaken from a dream, they kept playing. She stepped forward, picked up the spare microphone lying beside the guitarist, and, without hesitation, sang. Her voice rang out, powerful and effortless, carrying through the streets and cutting through the city's usual chaos. It wasn't rehearsed, but it didn't need to be. The musicians, caught between shock and pure adrenaline, played harder, fueled by the moment. The small crowd doubled in size almost instantly. People rushed over, phones raised, capturing what was unfolding before them. Taxis slowed down, drivers craning their necks to see. Even in a city like New York, where surprises were common, this was something extraordinary. The singer, the one who had spent years pouring her soul into music with little recognition, now found herself harmonizing with one of the biggest artists in the world. Her voice wavered at first, but Gaga turned to her, nodding in encouragement. It was all the reassurance she needed. By the time they reached the end of the song, the crowd had grown into a sea of people, stretching far beyond what the musicians had ever drawn before. The moment the final note rang out, a thunderous applause erupted. But Gaga wasn't finished. She turned to the singer and, in front of everyone, asked a simple question. "You got an original song?" The young woman hesitated, swallowing hard, before nodding. Gaga gestured for her to start, and so, with shaky fingers, the guitarist began to play a melody, one that had been written in the quiet solitude of a tiny apartment, meant only for a handful of ears. The singer's voice trembled as she started, but then something incredible happened. Gaga listened intently. Then, as if the song were her own, she began adding harmonies. She changed a line here, a note there, shaping the song in real time. The audience, once merely spectators, became witnesses to a spontaneous collaboration between an unknown artist and a global superstar. By the time they finished, there was no hesitation in the cheers that followed. The moment was electric. Before leaving, Gaga hugged the young singer, whispering something into her ear. Whatever she said, it left the woman in tears, not of sadness, but of something deeper, hope. The next morning, the video was everywhere. It flooded social media, news outlets, and music blogs. Millions watched as a struggling musician shared the stage, however briefly, with Lady Gaga. And that young woman? Her life changed overnight. A record label reached out. The song they had co-created went viral, and within weeks, she was recording her first single. Not long after, in an interview, she was asked how it all happened. She smiled, shaking her head in disbelief. Because one night, Lady Gaga stopped to listen.